been way different. The car's potential was so much greater than anything I've ever driven before. The expectation is to win every single week.
All right, Chase. Well, you had a great weekend. I think as you look at your year and qualifying on the pole, and I think a lot of us have seen the capability in the team. Talk about your day. Did you think this was a day that was going to result in victory lane, or did you just have to let the strategy play out? And how did it feel to just finally knock that wall down and get it done?
Yeah, I definitely, didn't think I was, like sometimes like you wake up Sunday morning and your car is good enough to win, right? I didn't necessarily have that feeling after Saturday. I knew that I was going to be decent, but I didn't think I had, race winning speed based off what we had in practice. I thought I was going to be a top 5 car though, and sometimes that's all it takes. And for us, the start of the race, we were able to kind of maintain our track position, and then it kind of got flipped. And once it got flipped, I think I fell back to like 15th, and I was just stuck. Could not go anywhere. And then honestly, things just kind of went our way with how the cautions fell, and we were able to cycle to the lead. And once we got the lead, our car was really, really strong and was obviously able to hold on. But yeah, it was nice, truthfully, just to kind of execute one. That's something that we had not been able to do all year long, as far as just not have any like major hiccups, whether it's a pit road penalty or just a bad pit stop. I tried giving it away yesterday, but fortunately, it ended up all working out in the end.
What's this process been like for you to come into a new team, new people, new situation? And I know you've kind of had these moments in the past where you had to come in and perform, but what's it been like having to learn a new organization, knowing the expectation was to win? It wasn't just to have good results. Joe Gibbs Racing is built to win and has done that in the past. What's this process been like for you as you have to learn new cars, the way that they feel, the way that they drive, as you've gone through this first part of the season?
Yeah, it's been way different, and way harder than I anticipated, especially just getting up to speed, because the car's potential was so much greater than anything I've ever driven before in the next gen era. And truthfully, just the first 2, 3 months of the season, I was just under driving all the time, especially in qualifying. And I finally feel like I'm to the point where I'm at the limit, and I kind of know what my car is capable of and what it can do now. But certainly, coming into an organization where the expectation is to win every single week, it's been an adjustment. I mean, you obviously were there at Stewart Haas at the end. That wasn't the expectation at the end. We obviously still wanted to go there and win, but I think internally, like, we didn't expect to win every single weekend. So just that expectation has been way different, and just living in that environment. And then honestly, even just the whole teammate environment of where your teammates are winning, multiple races. That's something in my tenure at SHR wasn't really happening. Before I got there, you guys were winning all kinds of races, but once I got to the Cup side, that's kind of where the downfall started. And my teammates weren't winning a whole lot. I think you won 1 or 2 races the one year, and outside of that, nobody was ever really winning. So that's been an adjustment for me, just personally. Being in an environment where your teammates are winning races and the expectation is to win week in and week out. But it's something I'm starting to get more and more normal with. It's just been very different from what I've kind of raced at, environment wise, my entire career.
How's James been? We know he's pretty high strung, pretty intense type of guy. What's that driver crew chief learning that relationship been like for you as you've gone through that process?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, truthfully, to work with James. I feel like we're both at that point of our career where we feel like we have a lot to prove, and people kind of doubt us, right? And people question, if we should be the people doing it. And we both know down deep that we're more than capable. And it's been a lot of fun just to, work with James and see just how dedicated he is. I've never met somebody that works harder than he does. I mean, that's literally all he does is work on making the 19 car go as fast as possible. And for us to be able to, grow as quickly as we have, I think says a lot. And truthfully, the last 3 or 4 weeks, I feel like we've grown so much just from a communication standpoint, even a confidence standpoint, and just a belief in each other. And, honestly, I feel like we're still not near to our potential, but I definitely feel like we're getting closer and closer to kind of what we should be doing week in and week out. It's been really enjoyable these last couple weeks just because I feel like we're finally getting to that point where James and the team are kind of getting to understand kind of what I like in the car and the baseline and just the feel I'm looking for. And that's something that the first 2 or 3 months, they were trying to figure me out just as much as I was figuring them out. Where now, they have enough of a baseline that they can kind of build setups around me now. And, I just feel really, really comfortable week in and week out.
What's been the single hardest thing with the car from what you went? You were basically embedded in the Stewart-Haas Ford system. You went through their simulation, you went through their style of steering and brakes and engines and all those things. What's been the single hardest thing for you as a driver to adapt to?
Honestly, just the potential of the car. Especially in qualifying, that was my problem the first 2 or 3 months of the season. Like Texas is a great example. Like turn one, I went in deeper than I normally would in an SHR car, and I still underdrove it. And just knowing that the potential is there was something that was hard for me to kind of wrap my head around, truthfully, the first 2 or 3 months of the season, just because I've never been able to do the things that I can do in this car before, as far as just how hard I can drive it and the things I can get away with and the positions I can put it in. It's honestly absolutely mind blowing that the same parts and pieces can drive so vastly different. But that's been the biggest thing for me is just trying to understand, how much harder I can drive this car. But with that, I don't have to take the risk anymore that I used to have to do at an SHR, where on restarts you had to make these really low percentage moves that might work out and you gain 4 or 5 spots. And that's been hard for me to kind of switch my mentality on restarts is, sometimes I just need to maintain. Like I don't need to try to gain 4 or 5 spots, just maintain where you're at and you're going to get it over the course of the run. So all that being said, I would say it's been the biggest adjustment for me is just trying to understand this car's capability and race differently because of its capability.
So you've had a lot of change at home too. How's the chaos there? You've got a small army at home. So not only have
Yeah,
you had a
right.
new
Oh,
job, now you've got a new life cycle to deal with at home too on a daily basis.
yeah, we're over halfway to basketball starting five. It's been a lot, truthfully, but at the same time, it's having twins is definitely a challenge, especially when you have a 3.5-year-old too. But the twins have not been near as hard as I anticipated. I'm sure my wife will kill me if she sees this interview. But I think it's about to get really, really hard because they're about to start crawling. But up to this point, they've been way easier than I thought they would be. I'm not the one at home with them all the time. But I will say that when they start crawling, it will be 1000% full blown chaos.
So as you go forward, what's the weakness? What do we need to work on with the 19 to put you into championship, realistic championship contention as we go into the last 10 weeks now that you're locked in?
Yeah, just execution and stage points. That's the things that we have to do. I think the stage points come if we start executing. That's something that we really have not done all season long. And, even starting on the pole those 3 weeks in a row, we didn't get a lot of stage points. I mean, Charlotte was a great example. You start on the pole, you come down the first pit stop, you get a penalty, you go straight to the back, you drive back to the top 10, you have another bad pit stop, go to 30th or whatever. You just can't be doing that, especially when you start up front. You have to maximize it and get stage points. And for us, if you're going to make a championship run, you have to be able to get stage points. And that's something that we've not been able to do, even with starting up front. So for us, I would say that's the biggest focus is just executing races from start to finish. A lot of the time this season we've got the finish. We just don't execute all race long, get the stage points to go with it. And yesterday we finally kind of put a whole day together and obviously the result was there. So that would be the biggest focus point I think for us on the 19 team.
Well, you're doing a great job. It's been fun to watch the transition, and even more fun to watch you get to victory lane. Whether you enjoyed it or not, you still got to victory lane, and now you can take that stress and take a deep breath and just go out and race and know that you guys can get it done. So hopefully we can talk to you soon in the future. Congratulations, and appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.